Hey guys, JJ here. Back again with another Wednesday of Zoom networking. Am I excited about today's guest speaker? Oh my gosh. Um, our guest speaker today is out of Pace Morby Sub 2 community. Absolutely wonderful person. She started in some respect as a student, became an entrepreneur, a businesswoman. She's a mother, she's a wife, she's running a family, she's running a business all at the same time, and she's just the pinnacle of success. And more importantly than that, she's just an absolutely wonderful person. My good friend, Jennifer Champion. Jennifer, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I actually got over COVID, which is great. I had that for friggin' about a month. But
Oh no.
yeah, I'm feeling a lot better now, thank goodness. Hey, really quick, for those that don't know you, where in the country are you located?
Yeah, I'm up in Canada in Victoria, British Columbia. So right above Seattle.
That is one beautiful part of the country up there. That much I know. Um, your story today, boy, I really want to get to it. Your topic today is from government employee to a portfolio of over $50 million. I'm like, wow, how do we even wrap our head around that, guys, right? When we're new, it's like, oh my gosh. But it's possible. Jennifer, we're going to talk about her story today. Uh, but Jen, when you got started, we all get started a different way, a different time. I'm a real estate investor. I didn't start becoming an actual investor till later in life. I was a landlord much earlier before I became an investor. Um, some of us get started because mom is an agent, dad's a contractor. But there's that transition from, a young person into adulthood. We're driving at 16, we're voting at 18, at 21, we can actually buy an alcoholic beverage. Um, was real estate on the landscape for you during these early years? If not, what were you doing maybe in your teens and early 20s?
Yeah, so when I was really little, my parents were building like the house we would live in, and then we'd live in it and we would move. But they basically built their dream house when I was about 8 and never built again. So teenage years, early 20s, that was not what I was surrounded with. I was an athlete through and through. I played hockey. I actually went away to college on a field lacrosse scholarship, and real estate was nowhere in my future whatsoever.
So when you went to college, were you studying a particular subject and did you follow with that subject after college?
Yeah, so because I'd never lived anywhere other than Victoria, so I decided to do business because it was easily transferable if, I wanted to move schools. And then, yeah, when I ended up coming home, I finished a diploma here in business admin, and then I also did a diploma in public relations.
I studied business as well. I didn't know what I wanted to study. I just figured whatever I said, whatever I got into was going to make money, therefore being a business. So I decided to study business.
Yeah.
And fortunately, for my good fortune, um, that's applied to every decade of my life, and it was in retrospect a good decision that I made way back when. Um, so you get into your 20s, obviously meet your husband, you guys start a family, you've got two beautiful kids. At what point in time did real estate hit the horizon for you? Was it while you were married, after you were married?
Yeah, so we were married in 2014 and not doing anything in real estate. And then in 2018, in January, we actually closed on the house we live in right now. It was a 1970s original. With my mom's background in construction, we were just going to kind of lean on her and lean on our friends who were in different trades and basically renovate it ourselves. We had grand plans to like slowly do it, add a suite, and then basically 3 weeks after closing, we found out we were pregnant and everything ramped up. I was not going to be doing a kitchen reno with a newborn or a toddler. And yeah, we basically tore the house down to the studs and did the entire thing. And then, sort of after that, when we went to go refinance, and we saw how much money we made on that refinance, and it was more than what both Seth and I made in a year. That was sort of like the moment that it all clicked, and it was that light bulb moment for me, for sure.
Wow. Wow, good for you. Um, so you what just how did you get into real? Was it bigger pockets? Were you just did you become an agent? Did you join some other educational program? What was your indoctrination to progressing with your, investment knowledge?
Yeah, so how it all started was, Seth and I kind of looked to our friend circle, and, no one in our immediate friend circle was doing, had barely kind of like the age we were at had bought a house, let alone was looking at like a rental landscape, right? So I joined a husband and wife couple that I found off of Instagram. They're based on the East Coast of Canada. And yeah, from there, I just started buying duplexes, fourplexes. That turned into building. We built our first duplex in 2021. Then we're just completing 9 right now. And,
Wow,
just, yeah, all sort of escalated.
that's fantastic. You and I have become acquainted through Sub2's Pace Warmby Sub2 community.
Mhm.
How did you come across Pace and how long ago and how did that transpire?
So I was actually invited and given tickets to the Clever Summit. So Cody Sperber's event. What was that? That was May of 2021, I believe. And when we arrived at that, I honestly thought we were at the wrong conference because everyone was wearing peace sign hats, and I had no idea who this man was that people were, essentially like worshiping. And I thought it was a cult when I was in Vegas. And then when we left Vegas, I was watching him on YouTube and seeing like how much he provides to his community for free, let alone within the Sub2 community. And my goal at that time was to start to move towards multifamily and buying in the US, just, better landlord laws and everything. So that's when I made the choice to join Sub2.
Oh, cool. And on your last comment, so, parts of the United States, I'm in California, we have horrible landlord laws. I guess the blue states are not known for being landlord friendly. The red states are, and if you live in a place like California, you want to invest in other parts of the country. I guess Canada is similar. They don't have great landlord friendly laws. Is that correct?
I would say there's two provinces that I would consider buying and developing in. The one that I live in, we build for sale. We don't hold properties in BC because it's so tenant friendly.
Wow, good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. Jennifer, I wanted to delve into your topic because it's just so for me, awesome is the right word. So awesome. We all want to build a portfolio and people will do this one property at a time. And I guess it's a matter of being consistent and, getting past some initial fears. How do we fund these things? I don't have money. A lot of Sub2 is using other people's money, OPM, other people's money. Um, your portfolio is pretty substantial right now. Uh, what was the main path or the main period of which that grew? Was it all your investments are multifamily? Is that correct? Or predominantly?
Yeah. And then we have a couple custom homes that we're building.
Okay, but you're buying whole portfolio as multifamily.
Yeah.
Do you have any single family homes in your multifamily? I mean, you're buying whole portfolio?
No, the smallest is a duplex.
Wow, okay. Good
Yeah.
to know. And those are all over the United States or some in Canada as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And well, let me ask a couple things here. When you started, was this were you looking to leverage other people's money or creative finance? Was this all you're like, "Well, we can only afford so much? How did that go? Because when a lot of investors are new, they don't have a lot of the assets themselves. How am I going to
Yeah.
do this? How did you take that? How did you take on that initial hurdle?
Yeah, so that was a big eye opener when I joined that very first group, talking about other people's money and leveraging their lines of credit and all of that sort of stuff. I didn't even know that that was even an available thing for me to do. So it just really started slowly. We would take in our friends' money and do investments with them, buy properties, basically rehab, renovate, refinance, give them their money back, and then they would reinvest. And yeah, it just kept escalating from there. People would hear about what we're doing, they would see what we were doing on social media, all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, basically getting very uncomfortable. I would say that I've been so uncomfortable that I'm not even really sure if I have a comfort zone anymore. Asking family, well, not asking, but presenting opportunities to family and friends really makes you get uncomfortable. You don't want anything to go sideways. I remember when we were raising capital I say we, when I was raising capital, my husband is definitely the silent partner in our partnership. For our duplex, I knew that I was going to ask my aunt and my uncle, and I knew that that also put a lot of pressure on myself because these are people that I see, right? I see them at Christmas, I see them at family. And we never really talked about money. So, yeah, lots of uncomfortable situations, moving through challenges really made everything that we've done take off for sure.
And obviously we talk about in that sort of situation, not so much asking for money as just presenting an investment opportunity,
Yeah.
letting the other individual know I've got something that might interest you because this could benefit you. And so
Yeah.
um that's always a huge thing. Hey, we got a question here. I'm gonna bring a young man down to ask his question. Graham Norris, you are on with Jennifer Champion. What's your question?
Hey Jennifer, I got a lot of admiration for you. I see quite a bit with Carly, your business partner. Um, well, can you give me an idea of someone who's not quite as experienced as you with regards to building a network? You talked a lot about, your beginnings there, getting out of your comfort zone, but how many people were you talking to? How many strangers were you talking to a day? And then how did you do the follow-up? Because we can say hello, we can network with somebody, and we never hear from them again?
For sure.
Well, can you give me an idea of uh, where you got the traction from? Because it's very easy just to say hello. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
building that relationship, that traction.
Yeah. So basically what my strategy was we were doing deals. We had our refinance and our line of credit. So we were buying duplexes and fourplexes. And I was talking about those opportunities. So whenever someone commented on a post or commented on an Instagram story, I was writing their name down in Excel and I was talking to them about those things. I was posting our wins, our successes, even finding a new property manager in a different location is a win, right? Talking about very small wins in the different Facebook groups that I was a part of. And everything I had was in Excel. I didn't know about CRMs or that, I could have made my life 1,000 times easier back then. But then setting it in my schedule to go back and follow up. And then when we sort of actually went out and were raising capital, I was making posts about the opportunity, right? Here's this land I have that I'm buying, I'm going to build and sell. Here's your opportunity and your return. Send me a message, talk about it. I've raised lots of capital in my Instagram stories and, just people liking the post or putting a heart. Every single person that does that, I reach out and talk to them because
Wow.
not everyone's always going to be like, tell me more. I like this. I want to know more. Right. But
Mm.
just those interactions were always sort of my like door and opening into talking to them about what they want more of, right? Like, what do you want to see as an investor? Do you like multifamily? Do you like single family? All that sort of stuff.
Mm. So, because I'm really in the early stages, and JJ teaches so much about it, and I'm looking for that stickability. So, um, can you comment a little bit on that? So, you're commenting it on your social media to how you're interacting each day. How are you going beyond that and building on the relationships? Is it just through the deals? Is that really where you got it from? Do you know what I mean? I'm looking to build, not just spin my wheels. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of our early investors were family and friends, right? They already know who I am. They know what I'm about. They've
Mm.
seen the way I operate in my life and everything for the past, decades, right? And then from that, it was about what I had done. I was showing numbers, right? I bought this duplex for 110,000. I put 25 into it and I sold it for 195,000. Like they were seeing that what I was doing was working and how I was paying my investors back, right? So there was traction to what I was talking about. And if you don't have that and you're partnering with people, then leverage their experience, right? This is what we've done, that sort of stuff.
So Jennifer, when you chose to start investing in the States, being that you're from British Columbia, how did you go about picking your locations?
Yeah, so we started with Arizona. It was where we like to vacation. So I do have a single family. We have an Airbnb in Arizona. That's the only one. But yeah, I am all about the path of least resistance. I will only go to red state. I want to go where people want me to do business. I don't want to fight anyone to try and, make money and run a business.
And when you've gone to that state, I mean, how did you find the properties? Were you just going through the MLS? Did you find agents? Were you looking for within the community to find other students that possibly live there? Were you acquiring people's wholesale projects, or were you looking, direct, how was your path? What was your strategy for acquiring your leads and your properties?
Yeah, so a lot of it is just like broker relationships. And then, of course, if I see people on Facebook posting about where I'm buying, I will definitely reach out to them. And then, a lot of the time it's not about that deal they're posting about because they've probably been posting about it and have 1,000 inquiries. But then I want to build that relationship so that I'm like that first person they message the next time they have an off market property or something like that.
That is obviously the way to go. These people you're interacting with, you're adding them to your friends list, adding them to your network. Are you staying in touch with them? Is it like one and done?
Oh, definitely staying in touch for sure. Yeah. I always want repeatable systems, right? So I'm not going into a market in the hopes of one, right? Once you find a property manager that you can work with, you want to build out that market.
And so, are some of these people bringing you multiple leads? I mean, you've got, a good number of properties. We don't have to divulge how many you have, but you've got a decent portfolio. Have particular people brought you more than one of the properties, more than one lead that's become okay?
Definitely. Yeah.
So is that unusual or is that kind of common?
I would say that's common because that agent knows you can close. Right. And so I got very specific about what I wanted. Like, this is my price. This is, very specific about my buy box. And then agents would bring me what was in my buy box. And because I could close, I would get basically first look at all their other deals.
Okay, and I'm going to take Serena's question in just a moment, but you mentioned your buy box. We have people on the call that are brand new investors. We have some investors that are going to be watching on YouTube weeks and months later who are brand new investors. For those that aren't aware, what is a buy box? And then can you tell us what your buy box is?
Yeah. So a buy box is basically a list of criteria of what you're looking for in a building or a house in a specific area. So area, how many units, if it needs light rehab, extensive rehab, all sort of your like property details that someone could bring you.
And what's your particular buy box? Are you looking, is it we talked about your multifamily, not single family. Um, is it like anywhere from 2 to 200? You know,
No,
how does that work?
Yeah, so mine would be anywhere from the like 30 to 100 units, somewhere that we can put a oh my gosh, now I'm losing the word. Not a property manager, but someone like a resident caretaker, right? Who's going to work with tenants and is actually in that building living. It's where you really start to see a lot of better returns instead of having to rely on a property management company all the time. And I am really big into the Carolinas right now. That is the market that I want to heavily buy in the first 6 months of 2024.
Good to know. Serena Bales, you're on with Jennifer Champion. What's your question?
I like your shirt, by the way. I, So my question is, what are some qualifying questions that you have for agents that you're looking to work with? I mean, no current agent. I'm also an investor, so that's usually the first question. Do you invest yourself in the area? Because they're looking to leverage a lot of my resources, and that's perfectly fine with me. And then the other one, I love it that you talked about tolerance, like your risk tolerance, your comfort tolerance, because I think as you get into this, you have to have some self-awareness about that. In the beginning, you're not going to have as much tolerance. And in Kansas City, one of my questions is, how do you feel about foundation issues? Because we're always going to talk about water. We're always going to talk about gutters, roofs, and foundations. It's just a thing. It's what we have here. So
Yeah. I would say the first questions that I ask an agent is, yes, are they investing in that area as well? But then I want to know their access to off-market deals and the size of deals that they're getting sent on a regular basis. Are they like in that small to medium multifamily, or are they more in that like medium to large multifamily? And then yeah, like risk tolerance is so important. I mean, even for me now, we build to sell locally, and that's fine. It's easy to manage, but and I've done lots of renovations from afar. Would I do like full on rehab guts? I don't know. And I mean, I just don't have the time, let alone the risk tolerance, right?
right, yeah. And there's something I think that gets built up when you're working with an agent as well. There's the trust. You find out, is that agent really going to negotiate for you the way that you would negotiate for your own deals? And
Yeah,
I think that's really important as well.
absolutely. And then it's important from, me as a buyer that I close, right? Like so that that buyer isn't wasting your time either, right?
Right. Yep.
Tara Paget, you are on with Jennifer Champion.
Hey JJ, hey Jennifer. Question, you being in Canada, how did you find and get comfortable with the boots on the grounds team, doing it remote, and especially like you're in North Carolina, which is East Coast, and you're on the West Coast, but in Canada, how did you find and just really get comfortable with the folks that are, effectively managing your money from afar?
Yeah, so that was kind of all I knew when I started. I only started in March of 2020. So basically when the world was shutting down and I was buying on the other side of Canada. So I had no way of going there. I had to come up with, FaceTimes, questions I was asking, certain check-in points that I was dealing with the agents as well as the property managers. And I just kept that going. I'm always reviewing monthly statements and checking in to see how everything's going, especially, our strategy when before 2023 and everything was a rehab strategy. So we were doing massive rehabs across the country as well.
So how did you get comfortable with them? You just blind trusted? I mean, were they referrals to
So
you?
the first agent I ever worked with was a referral that I met in that very first group.
So even
But
your
yeah,
business, like your contractors, your title companies, your plumbers, your all the different folks that help to move something from a project, whether you're flipping or whatever, your property management, like
yeah.
especially in different states. How did you like find them and get comfortable trusting those people to
So
manage the projects?
those were all referrals from the agent. I think that's really your key. They should be well connected, especially if you're working with an investor focused realtor who's investing in that area. They should have a plethora of people to refer you to. And then I got quotes, right? I mean, I'm never a one and done type of person. So I took 3 contractors and we FaceTime walked through buildings and they provided me quotes. I mean, everything's calculated risk, right? Like if I had done nothing, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Tara, does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking, I'm like, wow, just okay. So I'm guessing it's an agent referral, and then you kind of trusted the agent's referrals for various folks, and then got 3 bids with different stuff, and then ran with it, and it turned out well.
Yeah, I mean, we started with a duplex, right? So we got to see what a contractor did on that duplex, and then moved into the fourplexes, and it wasn't like I went and bought a 100-unit building and hired someone off the street, right? If you're building that relationship with that agent, I mean, you get pretty close when you're talking about money and underwriting deals and all that sort of stuff. And he was locally investing as well, and he'd lived there for over 10 years and has built that. Like, that's his business, right? So if he's going to refer someone who doesn't work out, and especially with us meeting through social media, he knows that that reputation would be tarnished, right? So he also has his reputation to think about when he's doing referral.
Yeah, and again, Jennifer was talking about working with agents in these areas. And so as opposed to those of like, my first deal that I did in Ohio when I wasn't working with an agent. I got it from a wholesaler from California. So I was left to try and find a contractor, left to try and find people. But through my group, I did find someone who's already investing in that area. So if we're looking to invest in another part of the country, we either need to find someone else who's investing in that part of the country or work with an agent. And there's probably other ways, but Jennifer's way was working with an agent who is familiar with the people in that part of the country. And again, it's about networking and building relationships. But is my summary kind of connecting, Tara, with you as far as what Jennifer was saying?
Yes.
Cool. Hey, well, thank you so much for being on the call with us today. Good to see you as always. And Jennifer, we have a question from the chat from Ben Brown. It says, can you explain the difference between comping and underwriting? And again, we have new people on the call as well as watching on YouTube weeks and months later. For those that aren't aware, can you explain the difference is what I'll ask.
Yeah. It more pertains to single family, right? I mean, underwriting is looking at how that building or house is going to run. Like, what's your income? What's your expenses? And comping is if it's selling at, if someone's listed it at the same price as what it should be selling. Whereas in multifamily, the part that I love is it's much more about a business. You have your income, you have your expenses, which gives you your net operating income. And then the value of that building is determined by your net operating income and the cap rate. There's no comping because the same 16 unit that's built next to me isn't going to be the same price depending on the numbers of the building. So I underwrite. I'm going to see what I'm buying the building at, the purchase price, and how it's operating today, and what can I do to go in to raise rents, because you want your income to be as high as possible, and then how can I go in and lower my expenses so that they're as low as possible to give me the largest net operating income.
That makes perfect sense to me. That's like something that I need to work on myself, is raising a couple rents and lowering those expenses. Let's see if I can bring the next person on here. So we have another question out of the chat. Again, a little technical difficulty. How big was your first major multifamily? How long did you wait before making that jump? How uncomfortable was it for you? And how do you go about finding it? It's the last question in the chat there.
Yeah. I think the largest jump for me that I ever made was going from 4 to doing a portfolio purchase. So it was 28 doors. And that at the time just felt like it felt impossible in all honesty. It was a really big stretch for me. It was, we were building a duplex here, and our grand plan was we were going to refinance and take that capital and go and buy that. And that didn't work out. The bank wouldn't refinance for what we thought here. And so I basically had to raise the capital for it. And again, getting uncomfortable, putting all of that together, that was the largest raise I'd ever done. I raised $500,000 from one person, from one email. So you want to talk about the power of networking? You never know where those referrals are going to come from. They were referred to me by another person in the industry up here, and we got chatting, and then they became our money partners on that. But everything, looking back after that, it was just, everything was the same, but a little bit bigger, right? So, now we're building townhouse developments that are, 71 units. Right now we're looking at one, I'm going to be closing on a 90 unit multifamily development. And I don't know, it's so crazy to say that those numbers don't feel that large anymore, but that was definitely the most significant, I would say, like shift in my mindset too, that if I can do the 4 units, why wouldn't I spend that same amount of time and do 28 or, do 90, right?
Let me ask you, once you started, first was a duplex and a fourplex. How long was it before that you bought that first big one? Was it pretty shortly thereafter, or did you wait over a year or?
Yeah, so in 2020, we did the duplex, 2 fourplexes, and then so we were renovating all of those, and I was still working full time. And then in 2021, we did our first duplex build, and then we bought the land to build a 9-unit townhouse development. And then in 2022 would have been the portfolio purchase. And then we also did the 3-lot land assembly for a 46-unit townhouse development. And then at the very end, yeah. So no, I didn't wait a long time, but it's all just like slowly progressed, right? I didn't do those. You see some people who are like, I bought a duplex and then I bought 200 units. I definitely wasn't one of those people.
Yeah. Now,
that would have been very overwhelming.
When you made that jump, was that pretty uncomfortable, or did you were prepared for it, or was it kind of like, what are we doing?
I think deep down I was prepared for it. It was definitely uncomfortable, and just wrapping your head around the fact that that's available to you, right? I still remember that 71 unit project. It was a different group of partners that originally did it. And I remember like just quietly to myself, I'm like, somehow I'm going to be involved in that project. I don't know how, I don't know the when. I thought I might help with the buying or design, and then ended up buying in as a partner. So yeah, I think I was ready, but I didn't know I was ready. And, surrounding yourself with like-minded people has definitely been a huge asset throughout the whole thing, like being an entrepreneur and being in real estate. It is a roller coaster. There are lows of lows and there are highs of highs, and you really need to find those people to lean on in those lows. It's hard, it sucks, it's uncomfortable. You have to have difficult conversations, but I think if you can stand up and do those, you will really be successful in the long run.
Now, when you made this jump, so you did a couple duplexes, a couple fourplexes, was this major jump, was this also Canadian property? Was this in the States?
These were still in Canada. Yeah.
And again, that was working with an agent that was familiar with that area. Had that agent brought you other things before this, or was this the first time interaction with that agent?
So locally, it's always been the same agent. She has a gift to find land and be able to see what the best use is and all of that. So we're very grateful for her in that capacity. But yeah, for me, it's always been agent relationships is where I have had the most success.
Yeah, I got a question for you. Do you consider yourself a numbers person? I mean, because some people want to get into this, like, I'm not good at numbers. I'm not good at numbers.
Oh, I love the number.
I'm a numbers person too. So
give me those Excel spreadsheets and show me what I can turn that building into. Absolutely.
That sounds great.
Especially when talking to investors too, right? Like you really want to be able to know your numbers and have questions and be able to show them those opportunities. Like, look at what we're going to be able to do together, right? Like I'm going to operate, you're going to invest, and I'm going to change your family's future, right?
Jim or Shal, you are on with Jennifer. What's your question?
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. I've been hearing, for the better half of last year and certainly at the beginning of this year, that, commercial real estate, whether it's multifamily or commercial real estate in general, is going to face a lot of headwinds. I've seen that BlackRock is walking away from some of their properties already. Is any of that of concern to you, or you have structured your finances in a way that it's not going to impact you?
Yeah, I think, without knowing anyone else's financial details, but I think a lot of people thought that they were going to ride that like low interest rate wave, and they did bridge financing so that they could, go in, buy a building and get bridge financing until they would refinance when the building was better optimized and, running at higher numbers. And then interest rates went up. So they aren't able to refinance at what they thought they did. So a lot of people, I think, are going to have to fire sale in order to pay back investors. We had stopped doing BRRRRs, so we weren't going in with the strategy to renovate and then refinance. Like, we were bringing in limited partners, so they ride the equity wave with you, and you don't have to pay them back off of the refinance like that. But I think bridge financing is going to hurt a lot of people for sure.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim, thanks for joining us. Thank you for your question. Well, I got a couple more for you. Along the way, we meet people that really impact our growth, our development, our confidence. Besides your husband, who I'm sure had great support for you, was there anyone in particular that really stood out as far as a mentor or someone that helped you to maybe answer questions for you or just kind of be there?
Yeah, I think there's been different. Do you want specific names or just like people?
You can give a first name. You don't have to give the person's name for the world to Google them.
Yeah. So there was a gentleman named Sandro in Canada, and him and I don't know what he saw in me, but he was really able to like get deep into some conversations and have me work through some like past stuff. And he really changed my mindset about everything and what was available to me and what I could accomplish, and that I could accomplish anything I wanted to.
We've got new investors again on the call, watching later on YouTube. What are some of maybe your, suggestions or recommendations to people that want to get going? What should they look for or look out for? Any cautions on partnership? Should they use VAs? What are some of your perspectives on a couple of those things?
Yeah, I think in terms of getting started, my motto is still the path of least resistance. I see a lot of investors trying to invest in their backyard because I think they want to be able to like touch and feel the building, and they kind of like make the numbers work. Whereas if you were to go somewhere else where the numbers are stronger, but you kind of have to get outside that comfort zone and pick up the phone and talk to people for property management and stuff. I think that people need to get uncomfortable and go to where the numbers don't lie. I think that was one of the really big strengths I had when I first started, was just that, not doing things in my backyard. In terms of a VA, VAs are hard. It's a lot of work. You definitely have to go through them, but definitely as quickly as possible, determining those like high level tasks and low level tasks, and getting those low level tasks off your plate so that you can keep growing if you want to scale and that's your goal, right? I think that's the other thing, is really being clear on your goals. Is your goal to own 500 doors, and why? Is it to say you own 500 doors, or is your goal more to, see $20,000 in cash flow a month? Okay, well, do you need 500 doors or however many doors to do that? Being really clear on your goals is important.
We talk about partnerships, and you and Carly are a team. You two are a dynamic duo. But when people jump into partnerships, are there things they should be careful about, watch out for? Do business with people we know? Maybe it should be someone who's got more experience than us or more money, that brings money to the table. How does one, when one is new and going about, because we can't do it by ourselves. We have to get help and team up with people. What are some of the things to look for or look out for when looking to, find a partner?
Yeah, Pace is big on this, right? Date before you get married. Definitely, try to talk to some people who they know, see how they deal with hard situations and uncomfortable situations. When interest rates are low and everything's gravy and, you're riding the high, partnerships are really easy because there's no problems, right? But what happens if you're in a low? Like how do they deal with uncomfortable situations? What's their communication style, right? I mean, all of those things are so, so important. I mean, I would compare it to, finding a partner, right? If when you're dating someone, does that person deal with uncomfortable situations? And, I've always trusted my gut. I think it's led me far. I think a lot of people can kind of determine someone's character within the first few interactions, and honestly ask around, like find the communities that they're in and ask people in those communities if they have had any interactions with that person, right? Do your homework.
There you go. Yeah, no, excellent. Jennifer, we've got a question coming in from the audience or from the groups. Aubrey, I realize that you can't share your screen. Can you please ask your question?
Hey guys. So I'm curious about, just in general, if you were to look at a deal that you were going to take on, say single family home or multi-unit, what is kind of the minimum rate of return that you would accept to accept a deal?
So for building, the single family homes we build, we look for 100 to 200K profit. For multifamily, so a lot of the time we are just refinancing. So we're more focused on the cash flow for doors. So usually it's like $250 a door that we're looking for in cash flow once the project's done. And then I sort of am just always delighted with the capital. I mean, all the capital is always repaid, but any capital return over and above that is just sort of gravy, in all honesty.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Well, Jen, I think we're going to wrap it up. We've got more questions, but we're going to, maybe have folks follow up with you. One of my questions is, last two questions, if people would like to follow up with you, not only on the call now, but watching on YouTube later on down the weeks and months, what's the best way for folks to connect with you? Would it be your TikTok or your MySpace, or do you have a website? Is there an Instagram? What's the best way for folks to reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, so where I am on all social channels is definitely on Instagram. So Jennifer_champion_. And I will say that if you're on Facebook and you find me on Facebook, send me a message when you do a friend request, because I honestly do not go in and look at friend requests.
If you're going to send a friend request, send a message, introduce yourself, tell folks who you are, what you have in common, how you know them, why you're adding them. Don't leave people to guess, guys, especially if you're reaching out to one of the rock stars or people that are visibly out there. You're trying to build a relationship with someone who's doing the deal. Please identify yourself. Awesome. My last question for you. I've got a networking group, and I'm always talking about the importance of networking. There's so many education platforms out there today, probably over 100. I know of about 50 myself. We have brand new investors coming to these communities every day. We have experienced investors coming to these communities every day. A lot of them are told to, if they don't have a Facebook page, to create a Facebook page and join our Facebook community. Not everyone knows how to do that. Some think they know how to do that because they had it in junior high school. I think it's the same thing. But for these people coming to the social media platform, predominantly Facebook, to build their real estate investment business, in your opinion, what is the importance of networking? And what's the importance of joining a networking group like mine to the success of the new or the experienced investor?
I think networking is the holy grail. I don't think that you can get to the heights you want to get to without it. Local meetups, everything, right? Conferences, everything. And then the follow-up, right? However you decide to do that. If you have a CRM, if you have a Google Sheet, whatever it is, just keep that follow-up going, because you never know when your paths are going to cross. You never know when that person's going to become a private money lender. You never know.
Yeah, you guys never know. It's a matter of building relationships. If you guys are watching on YouTube right now, please like Jennifer's video. Please put your takeaways in the comment section about what you found valuable, what your takeaways are. Again, if you guys want to connect with Jennifer, she's on Instagram at Jennifer_champion_. If you want to connect with me, go to my website, jjzizian.com. There's a little pulsating register now button on my page next to my photo. Click that, register for the group. Look for more videos coming out, more guest speakers in 2024 from Flip Side Up with JJ. And look for more great speakers like Jennifer. She's killing it. Jennifer, they can find you and I out there on social media, right?
That's right.
Look for us, guys. Jennifer, we'll see them all down the road, right?
Yeah.
Stay in touch, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today.